Land is probably the easiest thing to tax. However, across the world, it is the thing that is least taxed, and the reasons why may genuinely shock you. Hello and welcome back to the Traveling Reports. Today we're going to go over why land is not taxed and how it's probably the easiest thing to tax, but it will never be taxed because of the very fact that wealthy people don't want it to be. So, oftentimes in countries in Europe especially, where wealth is taxed away on the individual level, often it does raise a question as to where you can park your wealth. And in Europe, the predominant place people park their wealth is land, is real estate. And it is realistically tax optimized in comparison to any other asset class, period. And this predominantly has to do with the fact that wealthy people will always lobby to some form of their land rents, which land rents are the only quote-unquote natural monopoly. And of course, if you buy all the land and that land does not get redistributed through either a leasehold system or a taxation system, then you will not have a realistically a strong incentive, right, to get to hands over land. So what you get is very unique system where land rents are the natural monopoly, and then layering on top of that, you may have an income tax, which is extremely easy to get around. You may have a corporate income tax, which is also easy to get around. You may have a place to, tax dividends, capital gains. So if you're selling something, of course, it is taxable in most countries to make that sale. But it's extremely inefficient. And of course, living across what is the former Soviet Union and additionally Eastern Europe more broadly, they realize this, and additionally Asia realizes this. But instead of making it fully leasehold, although Vietnam has made lands entirely leasehold, as has China, instead of making it entirely leasehold, they deem that it is more important for their citizens to hold the land rents than to redistribute and have efficient taxation, which, of course, that's within their realm of, voting. If they don't want efficient taxation, that's fine. However, you'll notice a lot of the case, right, of, you can't buy agricultural lands. You can't buy this sort of lands, that sort of lands. And this is the system in many different countries, and even the country I'm in right now, the Republic of Georgia. What is realistically unique about that is they know that land rents are, of course, a place where people get wealthy. They know, just how effective it is at growing wealth. But what they don't know is that leads to monopolistic control of realistically just about everything. So, oftentimes, in Georgia particularly, you'll see a few families owning everything, right? And there is the case of, for instance, the family of the former king, Erekli II, owning a lot of lands. And as a result of that, even hundreds of years on, Erekli II's family was and is realistically very wealthy in comparison to a quote-unquote normal Georgia. And so what you get is this really weird system in Eastern Europe, particularly where they don't mind wealth control. They don't mind people owning wealth. What they mind is those people that own the national wealth not being from the country in question. And as I have lived in these countries, I understand their mindsets, even if I don't agree with it. And, of course, being on a channel where I do end up speaking a lot on taxation and value creation, this is about the one tax that I would actually champion, I would actually say is beneficial to any society. And, I'm looking at actually moving part-time to Vietnam. I'll have my company based in Lebanon, but I will be moving at least part-time to Hanoi or someplace like that, probably within the next few years, just because I enjoy Vietnamese people, I enjoy Vietnamese foods, and I have some family in Thailand. It's beneficial for me to have proximity to my family in Thailand. However, what is beneficial, right? Comparing Vietnam to a place like a Georgia or like a United States even, there is no natural monopoly in Vietnam. There is no natural monopoly in China. There is no natural monopoly in Singapore, because in the case of Singapore, you get 90% government land ownership. You get 100% government land ownership in Vietnam. And then you get 100% land ownership by the government in Hong Kong. So, what you get, in essence, in comparison to other nations, is a very efficient tax system where, of course, you're still paying into the system. You're still making contributions to the system, but they don't have a necessity to tax you as much. Now, Vietnam is a bit different, because in Vietnam, people still have to pay fairly high taxes on just about everything else. So, of course, there is no natural lands monopoly, but there's also very high taxes. Now, that's not true of absolutely every industry and absolutely every place, right? But if you are looking at how things work in a place like Vietnam, you get a very interesting dynamic of how everything is operating. As I move from country to country to country, I will be looking more into their taxes. I will be looking more and more into their business regulations. But if you're looking for a way to really dive deep into taxes and so forth, feel free to subscribe. If you like the video, feel free to like it. If you really like the video, feel free to share it with your friends. This has been the Traveling Report, signing off.